Hey everybody, it's me again. So I'm not sure if I'm gonna do a whole playthrough of the game, but I kind of wanted to show you a little more of the mushroom eaters here. So right now what I've done is I've done the setup. As you can see here in the book, this is the setup, and then here it is there. So there's the layout of all the cards, all the different boards, all the experience tokens and things, dice, and then I'm going to be trying a 3-player game. So a brown, a yellow, and the red there. What's kind of extra great is you get these extra little cards too, so this kind of reminds you what each one, or what each token is worth, and then what extra experience points you get at the end of the game if you have the most. These kind of like cheat sheet cards. Intense and loss actions, so it gives you the symbol and then what they are, just to make it a little easier reference when you're going through the instruction. Gain actions, must and other actions, and then on the flip side of this is rare actions and symbols. So that's really cool to get that little bit of a cheat sheet. I'll go through the pieces, but one thing I did notice in the book here, so the artists involved here, let's go through the list of the artists. There's only 2 names that I recognize. So there's Kate Awake, Gary Beauvais, Rudy Bloody, Mike Buckley, there's that Commode Minstrels and Bullface, Jason Gillies, Leif Goldberg, Twig Harper, I recognize that name too, musician as well, Joseph Lunders, Manifester, Mandrill, oh sorry, Martyr 3, sorry, let's not read through the camera, Carly Patak, Claw Pickles, Buttons Russo, Craig RPL, Nicholas Toll, Trip Wallen, Wendy Wiebert, and Wizard 333. So a little rundown of all the artists that were involved in this. And then there you go, of course, 2013-14, Nate Hayden. So I guess the first version did come out 2013, so not that long ago. I thought it was a little longer than that. So let's just go through the parts. So this here is the action board. This one here is called the nervous system board. Let me just read here. The nervous system is divided into 2 sections. So that's, I guess, nervous system, and then that's the focus side, I believe, is what it says there. Is that right? Yeah, the small cubes. Yeah, so that's that one. And then C, this is the focus board. I'm going to be playing a 3-player game, so in a 3-player game, apparently you don't use that last one, so it's like there's only that many cubes or that many spaces before you get pushed off of the board. And I think that ties into these, when it's time to gain one of those, whoever has the most on this board, I think, gains the token, and then it starts again, I believe, but we'll see once I start playing. The environment cards are here. The share and talking cards are here, and those relate to this board here, which is the talking board. So I haven't done it yet, but everybody starts with a token in the middle there, and then at a certain point later in the game, I think it's near the end of the game, there's a square where you play this board. These are all the mantra tokens, and again, those come into play because I've sort of cheated-ish and seen somebody play the game. I know they come into play when you start unfolding the board, and you hit certain spots, and if you hit those spots and you have one of these tokens, you collect what's on the token as far as experience points go. The interesting thing about these mantra tokens is that depending on how many people are playing, there's one less, but it never goes lower than 2. So even if it's a 2-person game, you still only use 2 of each. So if you are playing a 5-player game, there's 4 of each, so it's always going to leave somebody, if you do end up getting through the whole stack of them, it's always going to leave somebody without one of them, where then they'll be penalized when you hit those spots, because I believe you experience those spots as a group. It's not an individual. And then they have another little handy card there, the mantra card there, just telling you what each one is, A, B, C, D, and E. What's on the flip side? No, nothing on the flip side, just the back of the card. So that's helpful as well too. These are the personal path cards. As I've said before, when you go through, they suggest for a first game, first couple of games, you don't do the personal paths. I'm gonna do them anyway, just because I want to see how that plays as well. So your little personal path, personal journey, those tokens N, let me just look here, flipping a page. So these are the place action tokens. So on the board, there's these squares here that have an X, and that relates to those. So again, in a beginner game, there's a couple of the tokens I've taken out. They have I think it's an A symbol. Yeah, there's tokens that have a little red A. They suggest taking them out of the game, and I did take those out of the game, excuse me, just to make this side of it a little simpler. So basically what I did is just shuffled these, flipped them upside down. It says for the first section, the A and B, you turn one over and place it on those spots. So that's what I've done, and then I believe later on in the game, you only turn one over when you actually hit the spot, so I guess it doesn't matter either way. This allows you though to see what's coming, so you can avoid it, whereas later on in the game, I guess it's going to be a mystery as to what it is, because I think it's the same with anything. There's going to be some good and some bad as far as what you'll be able to experience on these spots. What else didn't I cover? Well, I showed you these, but these are the different tokens. And then there are the tokens for the end of the game, so whoever has the most personal paths gets an extra 3. Whoever has the most of these fractals, I think they are. It's really interesting because some of the terminology, for example, like these fractals, it's kind of your ability to comprehend a bigger idea or a bigger picture. So, but you only get these little shards of the big picture. Sorry, there's no light there. There we go. You're only getting a small piece of the overall picture, but at least you're starting to be able to understand it. So whoever has the most of those at the end gets that token. There's big ones here that are 10, but they're actually worth 5 experience points, seeing as each little fractal is worth ½ a point. There's ones in there marked 5, and they're actually worth 2.5 each. Awakening, I believe, is what these ones are called, the Awakening tokens. And then the dice that comes into play at various points. So each player starts out, let me just sort this out here. So each player starts out with let's see if if you can be able to see that. They're small, but let me just hold it. Wow, it's difficult. Hopefully that's focusing. Unfortunately, this doesn't have an autofocus option, so I've always got to find that zone. So these are breathing tokens. So on this side is you're basically not breathing, not breathing, but when you flip it over, you go into deep breathing, which calms you down, which comes into play later as well when you have to give up experience tokens. If you have this flip to this side, instead of getting rid of experience, you can just flip this back over to the not breathing side. So each player gets one of those. Each player gets these talking tokens. These are the ones I was talking about that go onto the board, which we may as well do right now. The colors on these is a bit odd, so they don't quite match the colors of everything else that's on, but ultimately it's fine. I'll figure it out. So they all go there stacked on top of each other. You get 8 of these larger cubes. 2 of these, I believe these are the personal path octagons, and then there was 2 each of these tinier cubes. So whoever was going first, which I've just determined is going to be this guy, he's got the number 1 token. He's the first one to place onto this track, and then everybody after him goes. And then the last person that placed here becomes the first to place over here, and then backwards from there. So that's where those extra tokens went to. And then of course everybody gets their cards. I didn't shuffle or anything because there's not much point. So I think I have some more room here to move everything over, because this should be enough room as far as like the board unfolding. I'll probably end up sliding everything over. So there you go. There's the kind of initial setup. Yeah, back again. I just figured I may as well show you the starting of the game too. So you'll see these spaces here that have like a border around them. Those are must-do spaces. So if you're here, for example, and you only have a 3 left, a card with a number 3 on it, you can only move 2 because you have to experience each one of these within that path. The player whose turn it is, experiences each of these spots first. You don't have to play a card to move to the next ones. You just resolve this one, move to the next one, resolve it, move to the next one, resolve it. So that's kind of where we're at for the first part of the game. So like I said, brown is going first. So the first spot here, it's just, I don't know, I think there's going to be just so many nice layers to this. I'm really looking forward to it. So the fire is the first spot that we're on. And according to the book, let's go to the book. There's fire. So fire, this is a common space of rest and refocus for the eaters. You kind of snap out of it to some degree and realize that you're sitting around a fire. So you kind of come back into the group and you rejoin your surroundings basically. So in player order, all players must play 1 mood card from their hand. Players collect the items featured next to the fire on the card played. The card is discarded. If a player has no cards in hand before a fire action, he takes all cards into his hand as normal. The items of the resting fire and other features of the cards are mentioned below. So, because we're starting the game, that's what we've experienced first. So for example, let's look. So this is where this comes into play. From what I was talking about before, so there's the number 3 card, for example, and let's hold this up so there's not much glare from the light. Wow. Anyway, somewhere in there is focus, I think. So there's the fire symbol, and then there's 2 bodies, so probably nervous system. So we'll see what that means, and like they said, it's going to be a game of kind of going and just learning all the symbols and all the terminology. So there's that, for example. Here's another one with the fire symbol, so like an awakening token, and it looks like a mantra beside it, so you can gain a mantra. Here's one that has 2 cubes. I think that means you can move on the nervous system board, I believe, but we'll find out. 1 cube. Oh, maybe that's flipping your breathing tile, or maybe that's your breathing tile. That's moving to deep breathing. I'm not sure what that one means. And there's collect fractal. So right out of the gate, it's playing a card and collecting something, or being able to achieve a certain task right out of the gate. And the next, so then once we've all resolved that one, that first player again would just move the token to the next spot, and we'd experience that one, and that one looks like a multiple choice kind of thing. Cube, a nervous system, or an awakening, I think is what it is there. So that's kind of how the game would start out. Yeah, so I'm going to try that, and I just thought I would kind of show you give you the whole full intro from the setup to the first move. And I think that's going to be something to keep in mind, that making sure that we experience all those spaces and don't pass them by and don't play cards, that sort of thing. So there we go. Okay, so I've decided on the moves for people here. So the symbols here by the fire are you move your cube 2 spots up in the nervous system. This one here, I can do this one here since he's right there. He's decided that he's going to flip his or her token to the deep breathing. And red over here has decided that, so this one gives you a choice. You can take 2 of the, I believe they're enlightenment tokens, or you can take a mantra token. So she's going to decide to take a mantra token here. So let's see which is a good one. Let's try B, because if we get to that spot, it's going to allow us to jump up onto this track here. So we're going to take one of those. So then, like I said, brown is going to move up 2 in this track here. So that's brown. So they're going to move 1, 2, just like that. I don't quite know what the benefit of this is yet, other than I believe this side is kind of judging how calm you are. So if you're in the red, you're kind of, or below the red, you're in full-blown panic attack, and I believe there's penalties, because there's penalties on things that move you down the tracks. And if you're at red and move lower, or you can't move off the board, obviously. So if you ever get a token or a spot where you have to decrease this value and you don't have the room to move, that just means you're going to lose experience tokens or something else from your hand, which is going to make it more difficult for you to ultimately achieve your goal at the end. So that's all that happened on this turn, and then that next turn is the same thing basically. Excuse me, sorry. Peaceful. Wow, that got blue all of a sudden there. Peaceful, you must experience. Players beginning with current player must choose one of the 3 items to take in their supply. Either 1 awakening, 1 energy, or 1 focus. So yeah, either one of the awakening tokens. I believe that's moving up 1 on here, or moving up 1 on the focus board, and that's the next spot that we have. So then everybody will make that decision. I kind of want to have each of them make a different one. So since the red player took the mantra on this time, let's go with brown. Brown is going to decide to take one of these, one of the focus tokens there. So let's do that for brown. Yellow is going to decide to move up 1 here, and then red will decide to move up 1 here. There's kind of no rhyme or reason as far as, well, I guess there is. I mean, I think the thing for me playing this right now is I'm just trying to get a feel for the game. So I really want to have each of the players take different actions. I don't want everybody to just gain an awakening token, because I want to see what happens to each player as we move through the board and the game. To see how these things reflect later on in the game, I think will be interesting. So yeah, okay, that's it. So what do you know there? I think already I've made a mistake. It's interesting. The book is a little, it's a lot of information to fit into a book. So it is a little confusing, a little bit of a breakdown of I mean, it sort of does it, but for some reason it seems a little vague as to what's what. And maybe that's just me, but what I believe happened just here was this is the nervous system. These, I believe, are called the focus boards. So I think when that action there was gain 1 in the nervous system, that means you can bump up 1 here or 1 there, I believe is how that goes. And adding a cube is what the other one is. So then you can add a cube either to the time board or the shaman's drum board, is I believe what that meant. And that sort of makes sense because on the square, I know that's really tiny, but on the square is a little, or on the spot is a little cube which reflects the cube up there and up there, and in here there's no cube, but there is the nervous system. So that makes more sense. So I think it's just a matter of slowing down and understanding everything. So in that case, I think that was so red got that, and red was going to add a piece, right? Because yellow bumped up, brown took that. So yeah, so we're gonna add red to one of these. So we'll come over here and grab one of our cubes. Again, it's early days, so I don't know what the benefit is gonna be yet, but I'm going to add 1 to the time board here. So that gives red 2, yellow 1, and brown 1 of them. That face doesn't come up for quite a while. Do I even see it here? Oh, right there. So there's the time. There's that one there. So it's quite a ways away. It's all the way around before we even get to the flipped board yet. So there we go. All right, let's hope we have that sorted. So we've landed on a spot that, yellow has moved us to a spot that's an environment card, and the environment cards are here. So what you do is you turn it over, which we have, and there's 3 choices. So a 3 is a focus, a 2 is a nervous system, and a 1 is lose an enlightenment, or one of those tokens basically. So what happens now is each player plays a card. The matching number is going to gain or lose them something. You also have an option. Each deck has a card that has a 0 on it, so you can play, and in this case the last person probably will end up playing the 0 card, because the last person, I'm sure, will be given this leftover. So if you play that 0 card, that means you don't gain or lose anything for that round. So we start with player number 1. Player number 1 is yellow. So I think I would like player number 1 to I don't know, I have a feeling I'd like player number 1 to gain a focus cube, because I'd like to put something on that shaman's drum there. So let's play a 3 from the yellow player, and we'll take one of his cubes and put them there. And again, does it say? I'm pretty sure. Jason lands on an environment action and draws an environment card. The eaters have become cold. Each player must play 1 card. Jason plays a 2 and earns an energy. He raises his intensity energy. Ariel can only play a 1 and loses an awakening. Tyler plays a 3 and places a focus cube at the bottom of the shaman drum influence track. This placement pushes Jason off the top of the track. Wendy also plays a 2 and moves her moving forward energy up 1. If a player plays a card for an item he is to remove and does not own that item, nothing happens. He just discards the card as normal and has no further penalty. So you can do that. Nowhere does it say that you can't play the same card as somebody else. So I guess that sort of changes that a little bit, because just because he's played a 3 doesn't mean now that nobody else can play a 3. It's just, I guess, whatever choice you want to do. And as it said there, if you have nothing to lose and that's the only card that you have, then there's no extra penalty. So that's good to know as well too, so then you don't have to waste a 0 card. The 0 cards, if the next person was to play a 0 card, we would stay on that space and experience that space again. The only caveat to that is that if you have already experienced that space, you cannot re-experience a space with a 0 card. So in this particular incident, because this affected all of us, we would just stay there and nothing would happen. So there would be nothing to re-experience. Now, if we went on to, say, the awakening spot there that has a 1, the next person could then play a 0 card, because I believe that, well, I shouldn't say that. I believe that means that the person that's played that turn only experiences that space as opposed to everybody experiencing it. So that would be a benefit, for example, but in here there would be no benefit to saving a 0. But I guess that would be a thing. If you wanted to save your 0s, you could just play, in this case, a 1 if you didn't have any of those enlightenment or awakening tokens, awakening rather, not enlightenment, awakening tokens to lose, then it wouldn't affect you. So then red, let's get red on the nervous system track here. So let's play a 2 from red. We'll see what red's got here. Red's got 2 2s. So let's play this one here. A number 2, and that gives him a bump up on this track here. So let's, again, trying to do things differently than everybody else, let's bump him up 1 on this side of the nervous system board. So that ends red's take on this whole affair, and brown is the last one left. I think brown has 3 2s, only 1 3. I'd like to save that 3 for brown, so let's do a 2 for brown as well, which again is a bump up on the nervous system. Let's try this one right there for brown, a 2. That'll go there. And we'll bump brown up on this side as well too. So brown's doing fairly well on his trip so far. Yeah, as much as I said that I won't be showing every moment of this game, it seems like so far, moving 3 spots, you've pretty much seen everything there is. Yeah, so I'll keep going here, and I'll try not to flood you with a 7-hour video of Mushroom Eater's gameplay, I promise.